Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 2 premiere of Billy the Kid. Great season premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. The fact of the matter is that opening wasn't even the in media res opening that we got. I thought it was going to be like, I wasn't expecting them to be like, oh yeah, now actually we're rewinding a year. It's like, jeez. So, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Doesn't even mean that's indicative that that's going to be the end of the season. Maybe it will be, but we have no idea. That could actually be in the middle of the season because the show bounces around time, interesting enough. Like some periods of time could take longer than others in this show. It makes sense. You gotta stretch stuff out considering Billy died super young in his early 20s. So either way, what was it? I think 23 specifically. Either way, tensions and all that aside, but it's to the point like it turns into a big old shootout. It looks like it's just Billy. I wish I paid more attention to the opening. I could always go back, but I don't know who was by his side. We got introduced to Tom in the past, because I guess it's going to be hard to say what's I'll go ahead and say present day is now, and we'll say anything from like in that year time frame will be like the future. So present day, right, what is right now where we're following the story, present day, and that's a year in the future. There was at least one more person that was with Billy. The last two people got killed. We have no idea if the others got out of there in time, because there was only like four people, including Billy, in that burning house. So, because I don't know if it was Tom, especially because that kid likes to stick by Billy's side. But Billy went out, guns a-blazing, guns in both hands, firing off in the darkness, and they're surrounded. Because you see, like, muzzle fire from, like, every direction, like, when they're shooting at the house. So there's no guarantee, because obviously you immediately think, like, well, that's got to be, like, Murphy's people, which includes Jesse and them, but it might not. I doubt it's going to be an authorities thing. I don't think that's going to happen yet, especially considering Billy is kind of on the up and up right now. And I think that's going to be part of this season in particular of like, right, when you tried so hard to live an upstanding life that, as the end of the episode talked about, like not things don't always go the way you want them to. But either way, present day, Tungstill's got the whole squad together. Obviously, they're filling out the ranks more, but even later on, Billy admits most of the people on Tungstill's side are farmers. Not a lot of them are like shooters and actual killers like Jesse and his crew are. So they're outgunned and outmatched, which I don't remember. I'm sure we saw him last season. I just don't remember. Maybe I noticed it last season, but I definitely noticed it this season. I did not realize the actor who plays Tungstill is Linus Roach. I kept looking this entire time. Like I said, I don't know if I picked up on it last season, but I kept looking like, is that the dude from Law and Order? He's one of the DAs in Law and Order. But and yeah, it is. I had no idea that dude was English. That's wild to me when I'm here, because in Law and Order, I've heard him with an American accent. So to hear him with I was like, is he an American putting on a British accent? It feels like they probably get an actual British person. So I'm like, is he British? It's like, yeah, he's English. That's wild. I just had no idea. So that kind of took me by surprise. I love that he tried to offer Billy like, oh, why don't you be my second command? But it's like, no, this dude's been here longer. I think Billy also doesn't trust himself enough because he's the new guy and I don't want to be the one. Because, yes, the only reason why I'm getting so much notoriety is because I have a lot of infamous notoriety as Billy the Kid, and I don't want that carrying around with me, and I don't want to be that reason why I'm here. I mean, it kind of got my foot in the door, but I want to make sure I'm here for the right reasons because, hey, I believe in this cause. I believe that's why I'm no longer working with Murphy, because I don't side with, like, all of them and what they're doing. I don't agree with that, especially what Jesse and them are doing. Tungstill is trying to expand his operations. He's even going to put a bank there. But Murphy didn't really think much of it because he's like, oh, like, how are any Mexican people really going to do anything? What money they're going to use? But I'm like, he wasn't that much of a drunk last season, was he? I don't remember him being that much of a hot mess. He seemed presentable enough last season when Billy and them met with him. But maybe, to be fair, I haven't seen the season since it originally aired, so I could be misremembering. But he seems like a hot mess this episode. So that when, like, Riley and Doan are just kind of like, yo, because they are there on behest of someone else, Katrin, which we met him at the end of the episode. Another familiar face. So I was like, is that the actor who plays John from the show Van Helsing? And I think it is. I'm fairly sure it is. That's the main thing I associate with him. I've definitely seen the actor in other stuff, but that's the first thing that came to mind. But because Murphy's just kind of a figurehead of like, right, him and the Murphy house is like, Katrin, it's like, right, I'm going to let him stay in his position because I need him there. It's because, well, we're friends and I figured I'd do him a solid by keeping him there. But he served me well, even though he's basically lost himself to the drink that he's basically consumed by. He's an alcoholic. So certain that he was going to die. Because at first I was like, there's no way Dolan and Riley are actually going to kill him, right? When Riley pulled the gun on him. But it's like, Riley turned and killed Dolan. I was like, oh, I thought you were in some, like, head bad guy status this season. Nope. You're removed from the board immediately. That, I wasn't expecting that twist. But I guess that was kind of like a, hey, I have to make a point. So, hey, let you know, Murphy, you're only alive because I allow you to. That is like, cool. So we need to rein this all in, get some stuff in order, because if we don't, God knows who the next person that's going to die. Because I guess Murphy didn't actually think he'd actually pull the trigger. So it's like, right, can't kill you right now, but Katrin's breathing down our necks. And if I don't like right this ship, I'm going to be the one that gets clapped. So, yeah, like, I've got a lot on the line here myself. So, yeah, no more screwing around. Because he ends up, I guess Murphy got a lot of people that they're associated with gathered up. And it's like, cool, we're going to put this all in order. Because neither side wants to go to a full-blown war. But, I mean, Murphy didn't really want to go to war, but Riley and Dolan were kind of like, yeah, we already are at war, which I'm sure Katrin is all about going to war. It's like, fine, who cares? As long as you shut down Tungstone, that's all I care about, you know? But Murphy didn't want it to turn into a bloody situation. Even though they had the guns and the means, he doesn't necessarily want to turn that way, because even he was the one like, yeah, maybe Jesse went too far last season. Doing what he did, and it's like, yeah, well, you hired the dude. I guess it's not like you could really check the mental health of the people you hired back then, being able to say like, oh, is this person super disturbed and a little on edge and uneasy, and should I really be hiring this person who's a little batshit crazy? Can't really check for that back then, so. But yeah, Murphy didn't want a war. Even Tungstone doesn't necessarily want a war, but he does still want to win this out in the end, because he believes, hey, we're on the right side of things. And I think that ends up being this really, it's going to be an interesting part of Billy's journey, because Billy's always, season 1 was all about survival, and it put him on the wrong side of the law, but just because of the people he mixed up with and the circumstances he found himself in. But at the end of the day, he wants to be a better person. And now, for the first time, like, he feels like he's doing his mom, his dad, and his brother proud by finally being on the right side of things. No longer just being an outlaw. He gets to kind of put that behind him. But I think this season's going to be that rude awakening of, even when you think you're on the right side, like, what does being on the right side mean anything? Like, your justice has to be your own, and sometimes you have to go a little, like, maybe that's going to be part of Billy's story, is like breaking bad for the greater good. So I'm going to do bad, or is it just going, or will he become more like Jesse of like, I'm going to just do stuff for my sake? Once again, I'm not well versed in all things Billy the Kid, but we're also talking about a fictitious story. So that's the thing about a protagonist. It could either be like the Walter White thing of like, right, you started off with the best of intentions, but then you got lost away on the way and got consumed by the darkness and go full bad, you fully break bad. Or it is going to be a thing of, no, I'm going to go for anti-hero of like, I become this suave criminal and it's outlaw that it's like, right, I do bad stuff, but it's in pursuit of my justice. I do what's right. I'm sure it's probably more Walter White than anti-hero that I'm probably giving it a little bit more of an anti-hero romantic spin when it most likely is I just went full bad because I got to the point that it's like, what does being a good guy do you anyway? Because, I mean, who knows how this season's going to turn out for Billy. Like, you're on the right side of things. You try to do good when the bad guys are able to stomp you out, do whatever they want, and maybe he gets caught up in the crossfire and he has to suffer the consequences, even though he was on the right side of things. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it might even be a thing of because things go so sideways with Tungstol, like they all get wiped out, he goes on a killing spree and becomes a full-blown bad guy in the eyes of the law. And he's like, fine, I'll embrace it. I'll be the bad guy then, you know? If that's who they want me to be, if that's who they believe me to be, all the good that's in my soul that my mom thought she saw, it's gone. I burned it on away. I'll be what people want me to. I'll be and embrace Billy the Kid. Because he still refuses to, like, acknowledge that. Like, he's like, yeah, people know me by that. But once again, that's like him trying to put his criminal side behind. And he's just trying to be himself, you know? Be the person his mom wanted him to be, you know. Everything you did in season 1 was about just surviving, but now it's like, well, you don't have to just survive anymore. You can do good. You can be that good person. Because him and Tungstol had that whole conversation about family. Billy told him about what happened to his family. Tungstol talked about him having 3 sisters back in England who they mean the world to him. So that's why he wants this all to kind of be a success. And once again, believing that they are on the right side of things, on the right side of history in this regard. I mean, you have other like characters like Charlie, which not only Billy, but even Charlie's wife is like, you like, what am I supposed to tell our child, our unborn child about you? Because Billy was like, you don't want to do this. Like, you have a child on the way. But for Charlie, he believes in this wholeheartedly. And it's like, well, considering, you know, his wife's circumstances, that also makes sense of like, I'm doing this not only for my wife and her child, but it's also like, I am doing this because it is the right thing to do. Murphy, the house, Murphy and the house, they've gone along, done some terrible stuff for too long that we can't just keep letting them get away with the terrible things that they've done. But it is a thing of, it most likely will cost him his life, and his child will have to grow up without him in a picture. And Billy knows what that's like to have, for one, grow up without a father. So obviously being little when his dad died, but there's even this complicated thing with Jesse too, where, I mean, he's kind of fully embraced the bad guy side of things, because I guess for him it's like, whereas Billy's kind of getting his second chance, which was something Tungstol was saying, that we all deserve a second chance. Even Billy Tungstol asked Billy to reach out to Jesse, but I think it's also because Billy didn't want to have to be at odds with Jesse. It's like, our history is complicated, but you were like a brother to me at one point in time. You were a friend, and despite our bad blood at points, I don't want it to turn into a full-blown gun battle between us. And they have a draw between each other, and Billy would have had to fire the shot, but if Billy's even asking Jesse, like, would you have pulled the trigger? And Jesse's like, I guess we'll never know. Because Billy refused to pull the trigger in that regard. And maybe in the future that will be, I'm sure it's all going to come full circle, where Billy's going to regret not pulling the trigger then and there. He let his feelings and history with Jesse get in the way of that. And when it's all said and done, he'll probably end up having it by the end of the season. Most likely he will have to put Jesse down. The man is kind of a raving lunatic right now. I mean, I feel like he still has some semblance of himself, but I think he's just going to continue to just fall further and further off the deep end. There's that guy that's connected to the Murphy house. He was getting all close with his daughter. The guy pulled a gun on him, and Jesse shot at his foot. Be like, yo, don't ever pull a gun on me again, dude. I will kill you. If I want to take your daughter, I'll take your daughter. I'll just take whatever I want, because nothing and no one's going to stand in my way. But even then, despite all that he says and does, there still is, even for right now, eventually it will change. He does still have sentimentality for Billy, because he's like, be seeing you, kid, or something. I forgot what he was saying, but it was just kind of like his confrontation with Billy. What Billy feels is exactly what Jesse feels, but I think that's the last, like, parlay type of moment they'll have, because next time, bullets will be flying between us, most likely. So we are going to be caught up in this war at some point in time. There's also Billy's circumstances with, and I'm going to butcher her name because I'm seeing it spelled out. I always can never quite catch the pronunciation, but seeing it spelled out, I'm probably going to butcher it. But Dulcinea, the kind of thing that they've got going on, kind of like a whirlwind romance. It feels like it's kind of that, she enjoys the bad boy side of things. Him trying to be a better person, and she likes that he's trying to be a better person, but I think she kind of likes the riskiness of it all. But it turns out it's probably not her choice. It's probably like more a family thing of right, she has a fiance. It's not like she's marrying for love. It's marrying for family reasons, most likely. And Billy finds out about that this episode, and it's like that's kind of a hard pill to swallow, especially the moments they've had, and the fact that she hasn't said anything. So either that's a recent development, or she just never knew how to break the news to Billy, because maybe breaking the news to Billy would make it that much more real. So how that affects them going forward is definitely going to be interesting to see. I mean, Billy's had his flings. I mean, his circumstances. I call them maybe situationships. I don't know if they. There was that lady that he spent time. I'm blanking on her name. She was with Jesse last season. It's Barbara, right? There was a thing between him and Barbara that wasn't just kind of a fling or situationship. It felt like it might have been blossoming into something real. So that might be. I don't know. That's kind of because that was a complicated circumstance of them finding a way to each other, and obviously it didn't last beyond that. But this feels like, I guess maybe for Billy, along with his second chance at life, it could also have been like a second chance at love. But it seems like that's not really happening. Like it's probably going to be a very, very complicated, tragic story and circumstance, I'm sure. Then there's also the Tom situation. I mean, the kid came all the way to find Billy because he's like, oh, I want to join your gang. But it's like, for one, hey, kid, I don't need a gang anymore. And you don't want to stick around me because things get dangerous here. And it's like, go off on your own, go back to your family. But Billy saw a lot of himself in the kid. And it's like, yeah, like the fact Billy probably already kind of had a feeling like you probably don't have much of a home to go back to if you're willing to come all this way. Turns out he doesn't. He never knew his dad. His mom's the new guy in her life, beat her and left her beaten to death. And so for him, it's like, I have no home to go back to. So he's like, either you let me stay here, but if you send me off, I'm most likely going to end up dead in a ditch anyway. Obviously, once again, Billy sees a lot of himself in the kid, but probably also thinks a little bit of, and I'm assuming, I'm wondering if they're going to kind of build a little bit of like, right, almost like the brother he no longer has type of situation, that the type of relationship him and Tom are going to have, especially considering like Tom looks up to him, but Billy doesn't want him to. He's like, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to stay out of danger. I'm going to teach you all the stuff about like helping out here at the ranch. That's it. I'm going to teach you to be a rancher. I'm not going to teach you to be a gunslinger. Probably won't have much of a choice when stuff gets really, really heated, because this place, all of it's going to get really, really like it's a powder keg ready to explode. We've seen what seems like might be the powder keg as we saw at the very beginning. A year from now, I'd say that's the aftermath of the powder keg potentially, but. Obviously, we're also dealing with the Santa Fe rings again. I mean, that's where Katrin comes into play. Which you could only assume that means like Upson would pop up at some point in time, right? To like investigate, because obviously he was. That's why I'm like, I don't remember what happened. That like, I think the last time him and Billy were around each other was him talking about about the Santa Fe rings, wasn't he? I think he's still alive. I don't think anything happened to him. So you'd assume with Santa Fe rings being so involved in all this, he'd pop up at some point in time. Other than that, there's also was it Sweeten, the lawyer, which I didn't. I had to have seen season 1 of this before I saw either season of Family Law, especially season 1. Maybe I'd assume so, because I didn't realize the actor who plays the lawyer, Alexander Sweeten, is he's Frank in Family Law. Totally didn't remember that. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I saw the first season of that before I even saw the first season of Family Law. But either way. But yeah, he's trying to go about Murphy and try and bring about Murphy and the house's like evil doings and stuff to the surface through the legal means, and he gets a judge on the side, which that judge went up against Murphy in the house before, and it led to his son dying in a gunfight. But for him, it's like, until the last breath is drawn out of my body, I will fight them tooth and nail. So once again, they're going to try and handle this legal means. It won't work out. Like I said, that's going to probably tie into Billy's story, just like, right, trying to do the right thing, try to be on the lawful side of things, don't always work, and that's probably going to be a hard pill for everyone to swallow. Like I say, especially with that that little ghostly message you got at the end of the episode, kind of foreshadowing not everything's going to work out the way you want. I mean, well, we kind of already know it definitely doesn't because of the shootout he's a part of at the beginning of the episode. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all this takes us. I did not watch the trailer, so I don't even know what to even slightly expect from this season. Obviously, there was stuff last season that obviously is going to probably take some time for us to build up to, like a certain development with Pat's character, Garrett, his circumstances being what they were, and once again, me reading up a little bit about Billy the Kid and how that all ties together real life wise and what that means. Like, obviously, that's going to be something that pops up this season, but how far along in the season, and like I said at the time, Billy is on the right side of things, so it won't be much of an issue potentially, but that might be in the aftermath of all of this, it might be more of an issue. So we'll see if they end up crossing, any of them end up crossing paths, because I think it'd be an interesting time for Pat Garrett to show up, considering and him being probably like in the middle of everything going on between Billy and Jesse this season. So just a lot of stuff to kind of keep in mind in that regard. So, but I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.